Another very important lipid polymer is called a phospholipid. And we'll find out that this polymer is critical for life. So just like our triglyceride, phospholipid also starts with a glycerol at the top. So I'm going to start writing in that. You guys can follow along. You will see that dehydration synthesis has occurred for these two carbons. So we can go ahead and write in our fatty acids after dehydration synthesis, but we're only going to draw two of these. And once again, I'm simplifying my hydrocarbon chains because I'm lazy. A triglyceride would have a third fatty acid tail, but phospholipids do not. But before we add the third component of a phospholipid, we're going to simplify this sketch. And we're going to simplify it very similar to that last simplified sketch of the triglyceride. We're going to have a circle. Mine got squished a little bit, so it's more oval shaped, but I'm going to label this as the glycerol for now. And I'm putting in two of those tails. And remember, it's just two because we only have two fatty acids connected, not three. If we had a third fatty acid, that would make it a triglyceride. But again, we are talking about phospholipids. The third part of a phospholipid is right in its name. It's phospho attached to this glycerol. We have a phosphate group. So instead of a third fatty acid chain, instead we're using that part of the glycerol and we're adding a negatively charged phosphate group instead. So I'm going to simplify it a little bit more. I'm just combining that glycerol with the phosphate group there. And instead of drawing those squiggly lines, if you feel like you remember that these are hydrocarbon tails, you can just draw them in as straight lines. The polarity here is very similar to our triglyceride. When the glycerol and the phosphate come together, we now call this a phosphate head. The phosphate head is very, very polar. But just like our triglyceride, we have hydrocarbon tails that are not polar. Remember, these are non-polar bonds between those. So then we have a molecule like this that has one very polar section and one non-polar section. Those molecules are called amphipathic. The prefix amphi means both. What it means is that you have a molecule with polar elements and non-polar elements.